Now, when I say I'm going to be beating the game as Yes Man, I don't mean I'm going to be beating the game as everyone's favorite Securitron. What I do mean is I'm going to beat Fallout New Vegas without saying no. That's right, anyone, whether it be Legion, NCR, or even Yes Man himself, if they ask me to do anything, I have to do it. This means I'm basically going to be stuck doing side quests the entire time. This is a fairly simple concept, albeit it is a pretty tough challenge, so I'll just move on to the run. For my character, well, let me just start by apologizing. I'm sorry, I was trying to create something that looked like Yes Man as a human, but somehow ended up making what looks like the Joker and Elon Musk did the fusion dance. Anyways, I'm sorry for putting that atrocity in your head. Let's move on to tag skills, where I tagged energy weapons, explosives, and science. If you're wondering why, I did energy weapons and explosive because I did want to use Yes Man-ish weapons, and I tagged science because it was either science or speech, and I thought science would be more useful. For my traits, I did good-natured because I felt like it was fitting, and wild wasteland because, once again, why not? When I left the good doctor's house, I immediately made my way to Chet to buy a shovel because that's starting to become something a thing for these videos. This time I actually have a plan for the shovel in that I wanted to rob that one memorial with a name that I definitely can pronounce, but I'm just choosing not to. The memorial always carries some form of decent energy weapon in it. This time I got an incinerator, which was nice as I was able to use it throughout the run. When I got back to Good Springs, I finished up the back and saddle quest with Sunny Smiles, this time completing the tutorial as I technically needed to do that because she asked me. I was then asked to go speak to Trudy, which the answer of course was yes. When she told me to go speak to Ringo, I did, but with a few little extra steps. First I went to go talk to Joe Cobb, who told me to kill Ringo, so now you can kind of see how this run's gonna go. Basically, I talked to Ringo, and then killed him. Yes. The Powder Gangers seriously could not have asked for a more intimidating figure to help them take the town, and before long the people of Good Springs were feeling a bit warmer than usual. Sadly, Joe Cobb did die in this whole ordeal, mainly because the idiot went inside his stealth boy, went in front of my flamer, and got baked alive. Now that I was done in Good Springs, I decided I'd start making my way to Prim, as I did want to make this challenge somewhat interesting, and on my way there I ran into Barton Thorne. He told me to go look for his girlfriend, who's about as legitimate as my reasons for not saying the name of the memorial earlier, so you can kinda guess how this quest is gonna go. I went up there, killed a bunch of geckos before going down to tell him there was no girl up there. He then proceeded to try and shoot me, which went rather poorly considering I had good armor and an incinerator in my hand. I very quickly cooked him alive as one does and moved on to Prim. Inside Prim, I just made sure to take out the convicts as quick as possible, which was pretty easy because I had an incinerator. Me and the convict leader did get to have a bit of an incinerator fight, but it didn't last long as his armor was much worse than mine, and he didn't last very long. I then cut Deputy Beagle loose, told him he can run away because he said he would, and then left the building. Outside, I put my tagged science skill to good use and reprogrammed Prim Slim because he is the best and I love him. I decided to make my way to the Mojave outpost after Prim, simply because I figured having a bit of NCR reputation in my back pocket would be nice. Nothing too special this time, I just killed the ants for Jackson and did some recon for Ranger Ghost. I did mess with Oliver Swanwick when I was in Nipton, but things quickly got out of hand when the devil himself showed up. I responded accordingly and just burned them both alive. This put me in both the NCR and Legion's good graces, which was nice as I'll probably be destroying that later. Now before I make my way to the strip, I decided I'd go to Novak because I'm pretty sure I had a reason, but I genuinely can't remember that now. Seriously, looking back on the recordings, I could not tell what I was trying to get. Anyways, while I was there, I did Boone's quest because it's pretty easy and he asked me to. Once again, very simple, just find the old lady and let the guy snipe her head off. Now I'm ready to start making my way to the strip. I was originally going to take my usual path, just go through Sloan and hide from the Deathclaws, but sadly I couldn't do that this time simply because Chomps Lewis told me, and I quote, "This means, unfortunately, yes, I cannot go through my normal path. It's fine though, I was able to use the Black Mountain shortcut, which is fairly close by, and all I had to deal with was a few super mutants, which I'm not exactly crying about. This dropped me off a little further from Camp McCarran than I'm used to, but it's fine, I just ran through before making my way to Freeside, selling a few things, and paying my way through the Securitron. Before handling business in the strip, I decided to visit the Silver Rush as all self-respecting energy weapon builds should. In short, when I got there, the Van Graffs seemed to have learned from their mistakes and installed cameras in the bathroom, as I could not hide no matter what. This meant I couldn't steal anything for free. Unfortunately for the Van Graffs, I just stole something anyways and proceeded to murder them with it. Sadly, the thing I stole was a plasma caster in full condition, which would have been nice to keep, except one of the Van Graffs happened to yell, "Hey, you can't take that," which my only answer was, "Yes." It's okay, after I murdered them, I made sure to leave the plasma caster behind. Now, although I would love to kick down the doors of the Tops and barbecue everyone's favorite friend, sadly I can't actually do that right now. What I have to do is gather evidence on Benny so I could tell Swank that I can kill him. The first and easily the hardest evidence I have to get is Benny's lighter, which is pretty difficult considering it's being held by some great cons, which are holed up in Boulder City. Luckily, I've done this quest many times before, and I do know their dialogue fairly well. Basically, the cons want out, the NCR wants them out. I don't see a problem here. Well, anyways, the great cons use the wording they don't want to face NCR justice, which is fine, they didn't. They faced some Yeslon justice. Yes, I'm calling him Yeslon, do not judge me. After that mess, I gathered a few more of Benny's things before making my way to Hoover Dam. You're probably questioning why I did this, and there's a very reasonable explanation. Caveman need more firepower. Yes, I want the heavy flamers that they have in the area. Basically, the NCR heavies almost always carry heavy incinerators, which are a huge improvement from the normal flamer, which is something I want. Sadly, this does mean I have to kill an NCR heavy, which is simple, but it's going to cause problems later. It's simple because I have plenty of explosives and I could just shove one in his pocket and wait for him to explode, which, like I said, simple and easy. Sadly, this does mean the NCR now hates me, but it's fine. I'm sure nothing bad will come of it. Oh crap, they sent a hit squad. The hit squad did more damage with their words than anything else, as they told me my NCR rep had to go up in 3 days. This meant I had 3 days to get my NCR rep up, otherwise I'd fail the challenge. Luckily I managed to do it somehow. I'm not exactly sure what I did exactly, all I know is in 3 days time I was back in neutral, so that was a plus. Okay, now I'm ready to toast Benny. When I got there I just handed all my crap to Swank before telling him that, oh wait, I need to murder your boss, can I have my flamethrower back? And he said okay, which is nice. Luckily, he didn't ask me to do anything special, so I was able to go about this how I normally would with any other fight. Now, I didn't actually have enough evidence to send Benny up into his room, but that's fine, I'm not exactly sweating. Well, who do you think will win this fight? 7 very flammable men, or 1 guy with a flamethrower? Cast your votes now, because I'll tell you, it was a short one. Benny got cooked very quickly, and so did his people, as I had a heavy incinerator and they literally exploded in the middle of the Tops. I am not kidding, they were burnt to pieces before getting blown up and then launched away. I think I just found one of my favorite guns in New Vegas. Now that Benny was dead, it was time for the meeting of the century, Yes Man and Yeslon. Now sadly this meeting wasn't as interesting as it would seem, as you're forced to say exactly what the game wants you during the conversation with Yes Man. This didn't exactly deter me, so I ended up working through trying to say yes as many times as possible. Now, I don't technically need to do any of Yes Man's quests because he never directly told me to. Basically, he just said Benny's plan and said if I wanted to follow, I could. Luckily, I don't have to follow it if I don't want to, but I ended up doing some of the quests anyways. Now I started making my way to Lucky 38 because I figured Mr. House had to go. Put simply, I cannot manage all 4 factions at once. The NCR and Caesar's Legion are almost always contradicting each other, but that's fine as I could work through that. Mr. House, on the other hand, contradicts both at the same time, so it's going to make it very hard to work through that. Instead, I figured the only option was to kill Mr. House. As I mentioned, Yes Man isn't a problem, so I don't exactly have to worry about him. Mr. House defenses barely put up, well, any defense, so I just kind of trotted through before making my way into the chamber, where I talked to him. I was told by Victor I had to talk to Mr. House, so I just had a brief chat with him. I was originally going to spare Mr. House because I felt like I probably should, as I usually just kill him. But unfortunately, when I said I was going to spare him, he said no, not to unplug him, which meant I had to kill him. Well, after teaching Mr. House a lesson on the powers of global warming, I made my way to the NCR embassy so I could start working with them. When I got to the NCR embassy, I made sure to accept the quest from Crocker, but not to actually do it. First, I made my way to the fort and accepted the first quest from the Legion, which is just to bomb Mr. House's bunker. Not too difficult considering Mr. House only has protectrons for defense, which aren't exactly tough, especially when put up to a flamethrower. Anyways, I baked the protectrons like everything else and then destroyed the generators because apparently the bunker needs those to survive. It's fine though, I don't need superpowered Securitrons, I just need my flamer. I made sure not to talk to Caesar after I finished blowing up the bunker just yet, simply because I'm not an idiot and I know that he'll give me a quest if I do. Instead, I held off on that and decided to side the boomers with the NCR so that I could use them later. The boomers weren't too much of a hurdle this time, mainly because I passed most of Pete's speech checks, which gave me a huge amount of reputation with them. After that, all I had to do was help Raquel and Loyal, which isn't exactly hard, considering Raquel just has you clear out the ants, which is something I'm getting very used to by now. I mean, I did blow myself up a few times considering I had, you guessed it, a flamethrower, but it really wasn't that difficult. They were ants. I mean, worst case scenario, I could just pick up a knife and stab them. Loyal's quest was a bit more difficult, mainly because I had to make my way through an NCR facility illegally, which meant that I could lose some reputation there, which could doom me later. So this situation needed a lot of finesse and care. Or rockets. Those worked too. After I got the parts for Loyal, I repaired the solar panels, which gave me just enough reputation to reach Idolized, letting me raise the bomber. Raising the bomber wasn't too difficult, especially since this time I had the science skill to get the rebreather, which made things a lot easier considering the lake lurks can't even attack you while you're underwater. After I raised the bomber, the boomers now love me, and now I can report back to Ambassador Crocker and tell him that the boomers are working for us. The next job the NCR wanted me to do was to kill Pacer, which is very simple as I just literally had to walk into the Kings and shoot him with my energy guns. Basically, if you kill Pacer with a weapon that came from the Silver Rush, the Kings will think it was the Van Graffs that killed Pacer, and both of them kind of just start killing each other. This works out for the NCR, and I was able to finally do this quest correctly. When I got back to the embassy, Crocker was MIA, which made things a little interesting. When the ambassador finally decided to snap back into existence, he informed me I got a promotion, which means I just have to fast travel somewhere else now. This somewhere else is Hoover Dam, which I've already been to, so that made things nice and quick. When I got there, Colonel Moore told me I had to go kill the cons, and well, I've already killed a few before, what's a few more? The cons didn't put up any form of a fight. I mean, I had heavy incinerators, so I kinda just sprayed shots into their general area and watched them explode. I then used my laser SCW for more, well, for lack of a better word, delicate situations. After the cons were all turned into some form of puddle, I returned to the Colonel and started realizing that I was losing reputation with Caesar's Legion. I simply cannot have this, so it's time to start doing quests for them again. When I got to the fort to start my next quest, I was greeted by a powder ganger of all people. I'm not sure when he got here or if he's been following me this entire time, but yes, there was a powder ganger in the middle of the fort. God, I love this game. When I talked to Caesar, the next task he wanted me to do was to recruit the White Gloves, which just has me do the Beyond the Beef quest on Mortimer's side. Beyond the Beef is genuinely one of my favorite quests in the games, simply because of how creative it is. It's just a shame on how riddled with glitches it is. Sadly, this time I was locked into a single path for the quest, simply because I am siding with the Legion, which means Mortimer has to become a cannibal, and I don't have the talking skills to talk Ted Gunderson down, which means that I just have to kill Ted. This was pretty difficult considering all I had to work with was a cattle prod and a 0 melee weapon skill, so you can imagine how things may have gone a little poorly. It's fine though, I eventually killed him. He didn't have any weapons either, so I was able to stun him and then kill him. I then had to tell the Securitrons that it was his dad that murdered him, not me, and that they should go murder his dad, which they did, before making my way back to Mortimer and finishing the quest. While I was in the strip, I decided I'd help out the Emerdas, because after all, it is the NCR's next quest. I'm not happy about this. There is no way I could actually kill them because I need to bring my weapons in there in order to kill them, and sadly they take away my weapons at the door and I can't tell them not to take away my weapons. So I do have to do the quest for them. I mean, it's not extremely difficult. Basically, all I had to do was find some weapons, blackmail a few people, blow up said weapons, and then use said weapons to kill the bosses. When it came to the final fight with the bosses, I just played to my strengths before leaving Caccino a parting gift. I decided to turn in the White Gloves quest first to Caesar, because I figured that he was the one with the lowest reputation with me. That was a mistake. As soon as I turned it in, the NCR uninvited me to their birthday party, which made me sad, and now I can no longer work with them. It's fine, I never technically said no to them, so I never cheated. This did level me up, and I was able to take the Meltdown perk, which, well, let's just say it was a little helpful, especially since the next quest was the Brotherhood. Now, dealing with the Brotherhood is pretty tough. I mean, they're big, they're in metal armor, and they have laser weapons. Now, I usually have so much to say about the Brotherhood. I'm usually like, and then I had to do this and this, but this time, no. I don't have too much to say. I have a rocket launcher, I have a heavy incinerator, and I have a laser gun. How do you think this ended for them? The first thing I did when I got in the bunker was launch a missile directly into the center of all the paladins, which turned them all into some sort of paste. I then went downstairs, reprogrammed the turrets before one-shotting Paladin Ramos. I then killed every other Paladin in the area just by shooting a single one and watching the rest chain reaction into a giant explosion. When I got down to the final level, I initially died to the two Paladins with Gauss rifles as they kinda just sniped me. This changed in the next one where I killed them both in a single shot by shooting one of them, and the meltdown perk was enough to take out everyone in the room. I didn't even blow up the bunker, I just went through and vaporized everyone in my area, and before long I was finally done with all my quests. Yeah, as a bit of a plot twist, I won't be helping the Legion this time. Instead, I'm gonna side with Yes Man. I don't know, something about this run, I feel like I knew it from the very start. Anyways, when I got back to Yes Man, I had to do pretty much all of his starting quests, which are, well, they're just walking him to the Lucky 38, having him reprogram himself, and then watching the presentation. I've done this before, I'll do it again. When I finally turned in all my quests, I got a huge amount of XP, which leveled me up, but more importantly, marked the end of Yes Man's quests, besides Eldorado Substation. The quests that really shouldn't exist. Anyways, the NCR positioned at the substation were in for a bad time, as I kinda just ran in and killed every single one of them in 1 to 2 shots. When I finally made my way back to Yes Man, he informed me that yes, it was finally time for the Battle of Hoover Dam, and I couldn't be more ready. Despite the fact that by now I have a fully upgraded Gatling laser, the Battle of Hoover Dam was pretty tough. I mean, the Legion there could output a fair amount of damage, and it seems like I forgot to repair my combat armor as I was taking a pretty ridiculous amount. Either way, they weren't able to stand up to me for very long, so I was able to make my way through the dam. I ended up attacking everyone there. I kinda just went on a rampage. I mean, they made me say yes, now I make them say, yes, that's my best impression of someone dying. Anyways, everyone in the dam died because, well, there was a guy called Yeslon in there, and he made his way through there with a Gatling laser gun. When I got to the Legate's camp, I used my Gatling laser to vaporize all of his Praetorians and backup. When it came down to the fight with the Legate, well, I just pulled out my missile launcher, chugged a bunch of drugs, and started shooting it point blank in the Legate's face. You may think this is a horrible tactic, but counter-argument. Yes, I blew up the Legate by placing a rocket launcher on his head and pulling the trigger. I died a surprising amount of times to General Oliver, and that is simply because by now I am completely out of meds, and I was kind of losing too much health to the Rangers. To make things worse, my game was lagging, so I was unable to open the Pip-Boy to heal through the damage, which meant I kind of just had to run away and hope that Yes Man would handle my problems. And he did. Both Yes Mans. So with that, I didn't talk to Yes Man, finishing the game and proving yes, you can beat Fallout New Vegas as Yes Man. Yeah, this was one of those runs that kind of just snowballed super quickly. I mean, it started off fairly slow, but after a little bit, things started to get more and more, I guess, problematic. And I'm genuinely surprised I was actually able to beat the game without failing. I mean, if I didn't handle things the way I did, I probably would have lost the challenge pretty easily and pretty quickly, but I'm glad I was able to do things right, and now I have another win under my belt. Now, before I end off today's video, there's something I briefly want to mention, and that is that this video did not have a script. There was no script that I wrote while making this, simply because I did not have enough time. I'm just asking the few of you that made it here if you think I did well. I think I did well, but I want to know your guys' input, what I should work on, and if I should do away with the script system. I find it helpful, but the main issue is that it is very time consuming, and I might even be able to make more videos without it, but that's really up to you guys. There are pros and cons of both keeping it and getting rid of it. Regardless, that is the end of today's video. If you did enjoy, please consider subscribing. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one.